Gifted and Talented program, our 5-hour live stream here on Facebook of nonsense, products you like, sketches, weird things, sign up for our newsletter, So we're here with a motley crew of film fans to talk about the year in movies. I'm Jordan Miner. To my right, I've got Bob Chipman, MovieBob, Geek.com's resident film critic.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
We've got Jordan Hoffman, who's going to be on a little bit after this to talk about Star Trek, but we've got you here now.
Hello, good to see you.
What do you do with Star Trek? You are
someone
of note.
I host the official Star Trek podcast, and I am frequently seen and heard at conventions, and in just a few weeks, I'm sailing the ocean blue on the first ever Star Trek cruise.
Nice.
6 days.
That's a type of ship.
Yeah, and it's just going to be me on a boat with a lot of Star Trek fans. And only a helicopter can get us out, and it's going to be something. So,
we'll talk about Trek with you after this. Yeah. And we got Nick Mangione, who writes for Geek.com about TV and entertainment. And you're here. We want you here. You're part of the family.
Thank you.
So let's just start with the movie that everyone's talking about this weekend, Star Wars Rogue One. You've seen it. You reviewed it.
Yes, I have.
You've seen it.
I have seen it.
We haven't.
I have not. I'm seeing it tomorrow night.
So no spoilers. But let's talk about it.
I thought it was terrific. I really did. I'm glad to see it. It was, this is like the test case, the experiment to see if we want to watch like Star Wars movies that are outside the main cast, and they're doing like the Star Wars Stories brand, which is basically an excuse for Disney to have a new Star Wars movie in theaters every year, even if they're not technically part of the regular series. And I thought it comes together pretty well. It's really cool. It looks a little bit different. It's got a different rhythm to it. No opening title crawl, different kind of scene transitions. Great cast, very different characters. What I like about this one is it's like the nasty side of the rebellion that you don't get to see in the regular movies. It's usually it's all we're there with like the generals and the Jedi, and there's all that whole business about it's like anger leads to hate, hate leads to fear, and the guys in this movie are the guys who are like, but shooting this guy in the back leads to winning, so F that. And
that sounds pretty right to me.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I was really into it. Diverse cast is awesome. Felicity Jones, great. I was really into it. Not perfect, but I had a great time with it.
What about you, Jordan?
Well, I really dug it, but I will say, and this is both a negative and a positive, depending on how you look at it. The best things about Rogue One are the things that directly touch Star Wars 1977.
Gross.
Or as we sometimes call it, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. I don't really call it that. Which is cool because most people love Star Wars, right? So things that sort of really come very close, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but like, things we recognize, places we recognize, ideas, concepts, just sort of the visual aesthetic, the graphics on Yavin 4 in their computer modules and whatnot. They look so much like they did in the original that it's really, and this is not necessarily a negative, but it's the world's greatest work of fan fiction ever. So does it work as a movie on its own? Kinda, because the characters are pretty cool. Donnie Yen especially, he's the blind monk, the guardian of the wheels, it's pretty hardcore. But, at the end of the day, the stuff that really popped for me was the stuff that made me think about original Star Wars. So, it's cool, and I'm going to see it 17 more times, but as a movie on its own, it kind of is a little bit of an odd sort of satellite thing. That's my opinion. Yours might be different.
We have a question from the audience.
How many Star Wars stories do you think we're going to see?
There's going to be new Star Wars every year for the rest of our lives. So,
and beyond.
Yeah.
We will die before we see the end of Star Wars.
So right now in the hopper they have this. They have the Boba Fett. The Han Solo thing.
Yep.
Probably a Boba Fett thing at some point.
The third one has yet to be officially announced, but the rumor is that it's a Boba Fett thing, but we don't know.
The big rumor was that was Josh Trank's movie. And
yeah,
he was all set up to make the Boba Fett movie. Supposedly, Josh Trank, for those of you who've already forgotten who that is, he made that Fantastic Four movie that everyone hated and is now sort of vanished off the face of the earth. But supposedly he was making a Star Wars movie, which they then took away because he made the Fantastic Four movie. And so they think that's going to be a Boba Fett movie. That seems like the most obvious thing to do, which is kind of why I hope they don't do it.
Right, yeah, I agree. I feel like they should maybe not, because if they're doing the young Han Solo mysteries, I feel like they should maybe do something that is not. And even though Rogue One is new characters, we all know the plot. It's getting the Death Star plans, which is something we know from Star Wars. So it would be kind of groovy if this next Star Wars story, which could be, all right, somebody's giving me notes, which is kind of funny. I think if the next Star Wars story could be something that is totally unique from one of the nooks and crannies of Star Wars. Not, Rogue One, we know that the Death Star eventually is going to blow up, so we kind of know where it's going. Young Han Solo, and listen, Alden Ehrenreich is going to be cool as young Han Solo, but Han Solo, we know that guy.
Right.
Something new? Why not? Yeah. And like you said, there's going to be one from now until the end of time.
And there are lots.
We got plenty of time to do Boba Fett. Make that one Star Wars story number 6.
So I have a question for you. I've been following your work for a while, and you've not been the biggest fan of Gareth Edwards in the past. You didn't like that new Godzilla, and you hated Monsters, right?
Well, Monsters is terrible, but I really Gareth Edwards is fine. He's a good filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at them, and he's these are the guys now that they're hiring to make blockbusters. Tends to be these young guys. For a while, everyone was coming out of the music video scene. Now it's guys who are coming out of the here is my special effects reel on YouTube scene. And he's one of those guys, and Monsters is one of those movies where it was just him showing off, yeah, I can put giant monsters into the background of stuff on a budget. Isn't that cool? And then he does Godzilla, and it's fine. I liked the 10% of the movie that Godzilla was in. I tend to prefer my Godzilla movies to have Godzilla in them. I don't know. I feel
that's
like
such a radical idea.
Yeah, I kind of, and people always say it's like, oh, Godzilla's not always in all of the other ones. He shows them at the beginning and the end. Yeah, but the other monsters do stuff, and Japanese guys run around and have spy adventures, and Godzilla's not in all of Destroy All Monsters, but there's 20 other monsters in it. I don't know. The Godzilla movie, it was fine. I hope it gets better. It's tied in with that new King Kong movie, which actually looks badass.
I love it. I love that John C. Reilly's just playing Steve Brule in that movie.
Yeah, and I love that he's playing. Did you notice that
for your health?
Yes, for your health on the back of his.
And he's like,
uniform.
we got a good group of boys.
Yeah.
It's such a Steve Brule thing.
It looks wild, and I like that in the trailer. They're not in the Godzilla movie. They were all like, "Is this Godzilla? Are you going to see him? Are you going to see him?" Guys, I know what the hell Godzilla looks like. Whereas in this one, they're like, "It's like, what is Kong?" And then Kong shows up and goes like, "Hi." We've been doing these movies since the 1930s. It's a big gorilla. You kind of know. So
he's
here
king
he is.
around here.
Yeah, but it's cool. I can't wait to see that. Edwards is fine.
So do you think Star Wars is maybe a better fit for his sensibilities, or he's gotten better, or why do you think that this has been? You've enjoyed this Gareth Edwards movie?
Well, I did, but let's find out how much of this movie Gareth Edwards made, and we'll see whether or not I did, because this was famously had been reshot a lot. One thing I will say about Rogue One is I think the music could have been better or different. The music's fine. They have a sound-alike John Williams score from Michael Giacchino, who is the guy you get if you want a really good sound-alike score in Hollywood. He does great work on his own, but he's peerless. He's the J.J. Abrams of film scores. He can make it sound like someone else.
They work
scored
together
it.
a lot. They're of the same type. You're exactly right. Yeah.
I would say Giacchino probably has more raw talent.
I would agree.
But he's really good, and his score's fine. But supposedly they had Rogue One looks so different from a regular Star Wars movie that every time one of the famous Star Wars themes kind of slides into the movie, it kind of feels like, oh, guys, come on, you're doing something different. Give me something different. Supposedly they had a different score and then asked for a more Star Wars-y one to make it like this. But, hey, we'll see. The movie's fine. I thought it was fine.
We have a question.
What's better, Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad, or Grant Gustin?
Well, as I was explaining before this, here in the Geek.com office, we call Batman vs. Superman Beavis. So you're free to take that. I don't watch The Flash. Nick, you write about
do.
the site.
I love The Flash. Grant Gustin is great, and the movies, they messed up by not casting him.
Yeah.
And I love The Flash. I love it when they do the big crossovers on the CW. That was probably my favorite thing I saw on TV this year. It was awesome. It was great. It was especially they were able to bring the happiness of Legends of Tomorrow into Arrow's world, and I loved it.
Legends of Tomorrow is better than Batman v Superman. For God's
Everything's
sake.
better.
Everything's better than Batman v Superman.
Beavis.
Beavis.
Who asked this question?
It was either Batman or Superman. I don't know.
We're coming up on a year since that movie came out. It's bad.
You should know
You already know.
Suicide Squad is bad
Question.
too.
I'm glad someone asked about it so we can get it in our system. But I mean, was that the worst thing this year? I feel like it's the big. I feel like should be good to how it was ratio. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was the biggest disappointment of the year. There's some clunkers every year that are just atrocities, but Batman v Superman, because there are a couple of good moments in Batman v Superman. Beavis.
Really?
Yeah, there are a few. Everything with Wonder Woman in it is good.
Ben Affleck's not terrible.
Yeah, he's not. And
Well,
there's
I
like,
don't blame
It's
him.
hard for me to call Batman v Super or Beavis a disappointment when Man of Steel came out. And Man of Steel, Man of Steel made me appreciate Superman Returns because at least that was a Superman movie.
Man of Steel is garbage. I would give Man of Steel over Batman v Superman.
Man of Steel is definitely better.
There are portions of Man of Steel that are okay. Like Batman v Superman, it doesn't look good. The acting is bad. You know, like they're asking Henry Cavill to emote more, which is just. I mean, I'm sorry. I know they hired him because he looks like Superman. He seems like a nice guy. He is the worst actor working right now.
Well, he's very good in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. because all he has to do is wear a suit.
Yeah, he was fine. He was fine in that, but he is Gabriel mocked in the in the Spirit.
We were just talking about Gabriel Mock in the Spirit the other day.
Who is another guy who's not a good actor, but like on that show he's on, all he has to do is sit there and look like Gabriel mocked, and it's fine. You know, and it's not a great thing, and I could go on about Beavis forever. It's just, but
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
We have another question.
Oh, we do. Awesome, cool.
To rope it back to
I don't know why I'm
Rogue
wrestling
One,
grabbing.
would you say that Rogue One is a good film for someone who doesn't really dig Star Wars?
No.
Who are you? Like,
Why don't you like Star Wars?
Well, yeah. What the hell's the matter with you?
What's
if you don't
wrong?
like Star Wars? Go seek that you should call. Check your insurance policy, see if mental health is covered, and then speak to a counselor and learn to like Star Wars like a regular person.
please keep watching our live stream now that we've insulted you. Please sign up for our newsletter. We have left antagonistic content on there.
Yeah, I would actually say maybe though, because it is a little more war movie-ish. I mean, like it depends on why you don't like Star Wars. You know, like if you just like if the sound effect, like if you hear a TIE fighter go by and like it's like chewing on tinfoil for you, then yeah, you're gonna hate this. But like if you didn't like the others because they're too fairy tale-ish, you might. You know, I don't think it's different enough to do that, but like. You might. It's possible.
In a rare moment of dissent from the great MovieBob, I disagree with you, my friend, because I really think what drives this film is the propulsion of the narrative arc that we already know. We know somehow these plans that they're talking about is going to somehow get and kick off the trilogy that we know, and then even though what you said earlier was absolutely correct, the movie does have different visual aspects to it, like no opening crawl, different music. Also, every time they cut to a new planet, it says the planet on the bottom.
Yeah.
They've never done in any of the movies before. Whoa. So there are these like different little things, but it's the same place. Like, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but like, you know, like there's like, oh my God, I remember that hallway. They're back there. So it's all about Star Wars. So if you don't dig it, you're going to be like, what the hell am I doing watching this thing? So I disagree. But you know what? Make up your own decision.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, tell MovieBob that he's the best.
I would like to see the one of these that's made explicitly for people who don't like Star Wars movies. I would like to see them
because there are examples of other franchises that make a movie. Like you could say Casino Royale was the Bond movie for people who didn't like what Bond had been since Sean Connery.
Yeah.
If you were really not into, dopey Pierce Brosnan Bond and the last, Casino Royale was a whole new Bond.
Yeah, right.
So that was an example of that. This I don't think is that though.
No, I don't think like fully.
Yeah.
We have another question.
Rogue One or Star Trek Beyond?
Star Trek Beyond is really great,
Yeah, it is.
but I've only seen that. I've not seen Rogue One yet.
I'm going to give the edge to Star Trek Beyond, and I'll say like I wouldn't say that it's like I'd rather watch it like I'd rather because like I like Rogue One a lot, but what I'd say about Star Trek Beyond is like Rogue One is not a perfect Star Wars movie. It's close, but it's not like The Empire Strikes Back. But like Star Trek Beyond is the best thing that anyone has done with Star Trek since when did the whale one come out?
84.
Yeah, so
86.
this is the best.
The whale one.
Yeah,
Whale one.
yeah. Star Trek Beyond is the best Star Trek movie, in my opinion, since 1984. It's like the best one that they've done, and I thought it's better than either of the two J.J. Abrams movies, though that's not hard. I could go off to the restroom and squeeze out something better than
Whoa!
Please don't. You're in our office.
yeah. I could, better than that one with Khan. And is that still a spoiler? I'm sorry. And the first reboot of Star Trek, which was just one of the worst things I saw that year. But Star Trek Beyond was remarkable.
No, you go too far.
And I love Star Trek. Just to be clear, I'm not like it's like, oh, I hate Star Trek. And it's like, no, I love me some Star Trek. But the reboots have been dog shit up until this new one. They even made me like Chris Pine. And Chris Pine is named after the wood he can't outmow.
Whoa!
Yeah, bringing the fire. We love hot takes here. We have another question. It looks like.
Oh, we do.
Have you guys heard anything about Alien Covenant?
It got pushed up to like May. Now.
Yeah, they moved it.
I've
take it.
I've seen a
footage.
little bit
Were
of
you
it.
there?
I was there.
Oh,
yeah.
you were there.
We were
Oh,
there.
take it
Yeah.
away.
Okay. Well,
You go first.
can we talk about that yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Showed it to us.
They did show it to us. Yeah. So yeah, I saw a little bit of it, and it is. So far, it looks like more of an Alien movie than Prometheus did.
That is hella
true. There is a new Alien, and it is.
It's not a chest burster.
It's not a chest. It is kind of an anywhere burster. Well, yeah.
Is that a spoiler?
I mean, yeah. I think for the full effect that I have to have my hand on your back and it'll just.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. So yeah, the movie is absolutely disgusting. Lots of like great body horror like you want from an Alien movie so far. From the 5 minutes that we saw.
No, it's about 11 minutes.
11 minutes, yeah, yeah.
altogether. It zoomed by.
Yeah.
It felt like 5 minutes. But you forget, what the big thing for me was, I'm sometimes bad at remembering who's in the cast. Like, the news comes out, and I read about it on Geek.com, but it goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
And you should too.
And so I go to this event to watch 11 minutes of Alien Covenant, and I sit to the guy next to me. He's quiet, and then the press is there, and I go, "Is that Danny McBride?" I say it really loud. I had completely forgotten, or maybe I never knew, that in the middle of serious Alien, and there's like other good actors, like what's her name? Amy Seimetz is there, and she's struggling and screaming and yelling, and other,
Yeah.
Is Captain Watterson?
Captain Watterson's the lead,
yeah,
and she's
she was
running
there.
around, screaming and yelling, and then there's goofy Kenny. What's his name?
Goofy
Kenny
from
Powers.
Disney?
Kenny Powers?
No, Kenny Powers
Yeah.
is like there, and he's wearing a cowboy hat. Like clearly, he's meant to be the Joker on the Covenant.
Right.
But he's like the lieutenant, and he's like, "Hey, boys," and he says something crude. He's like, "Sniff my balls" or something like that. And I'm like, "Well, they got Danny McBride. He's gonna do it." But then later he's got to be in an action scene, and I don't think he's ever done action before. Right?
What about Your Highness?
Well, that movie rules.
He did some kung fu stuff for Foot Fist Way, but like
That's
the joke
right.
was
That's
right.
like good.
He doesn't, in the footage we saw, he doesn't do too much other than just going like, "Damn it, get her back on the radio now." But it's Danny McBride. But, he's an actor. You buy it. It's
He's
suspended
fine.
disbelief. It's cool in a way because, look, Alien from the get-go was always about real people in, like they were working-class schlubs that were trucking around in space. So you would have a Joker like Danny McBride on your ship.
And that's kind of what's also promising to me about this movie more than Prometheus is that they're not like scientists, right? You're not going to have the moment where the scientist gets down and goes, "Hey, what's this thing? I'm going to stick my finger in it." I mean, you're probably still going to have that, but it'll make sense because it's just a guy.
Prometheus is
Also, is Lindelof not writing this one?
No.
So that solves one problem.
in his little loft somewhere.
I do like Michael Fassbender's back, and that's
Yeah, Fassbender is back as a
as an
More
android,
Peter
another
O'Toole
android.
than ever.
Who is your dream director for Star Trek?
I thought it was going to be Brian Fuller, but
Is Duncan Jones? Do we hate him now because of Warcraft?
Duncan's good.
Okay.
Warcraft.
I love
is the,
Moon.
Warcraft is the most noble failure that any. Like he had every right intention. He did everything right, and it still sucked.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I might pick up with him. So I like Moon a whole lot.
I don't know. They bring back Stanley Kubrick somehow and let him
bring him
direct.
back.
It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
To let an AI watch all of his movies and then direct on its own. Another question.
What obscure Star Wars character do you think they should make a movie around?
YOLO Ziff.
Dash Rendar.
Chief Palpatine.
I want another Ewok movie. I want an Ewok movie really bad. I'm so tired of this whole, the Ewoks are awful. The Ewoks rule. That's the coolest thing ever. They get into Return of the Jedi. We've seen every different weird little thing that we've seen. It's like space battles, laser swords, and then there's Native American teddy bears. It's just like it's
The furry Viet Cong.
everything in Return of the Jedi is Star Wars getting back to its Flash Gordon roots. Like I love Star Wars to death. But like the first 2 Star Wars movies are like the most sexless space opera ever.
That's why, like,
You know?
people are speculating who Rey's parents are going to be, and like, who in Star Wars like has sex?
Basically,
So,
nobody.
I believe Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Disgusting, sloppy sex.
and then they all it all comes rolling back in Jedi, and it's like, no, here's space slave girls in bikinis and big worm monsters
Space
and
cocaine.
gangsters, and here's the little teddy bear guys. It's delightful, and you could make a kick-ass like Tarzan-y survival movie with Ewoks.
But it's not a bad idea, because if they're pumping out one of these Star Wars stories every year,
Yeah.
and that's going to happen forever, maybe, I'm not saying immediately, don't put it on the slate immediately, but one that's really for kids, one that's for
not?
10-year-olds and under.
Yeah.
Like for the Minions audience, give them an Ewoks movie.
Yeah.
And if the rest of us don't dig it,
We'll have a Jabba the Hutt porno.
if the rest of us don't
One
dig
for
it,
them, one for me.
Yeah, no,
So let's see
the
what the
thing is,
problem
just
is.
wait. Go like, all right, this year's Star Wars story, because they're coming at us like mad. This year's was for the kids. It wasn't really for us. Oh, we just got to wait 11 and a half months. We got another one.
The 2 Ewok movies are better than the prequels.
Another question.
Who's your favorite musician in the Max Rebo band?
What's that little thing? Is it Sly Snoodles or is that the thing?
Nice Noodle. Who's the blue elephant? It's Cy
that's-
Snoodles.
That's Rex Rebo.
That's Max Rebo
No.
himself.
Cy Snings Max is on the keyboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's like the kind of like the 20s flapper looking one? It's gross and feminine.
Oh, that's Cy Snoodles.
Okay, yeah, that one.
She sings, and then Max Rebo plays the keyboards.
Jizz wailing, my favorite Star Wars music genre.
I was actually reading up about jizz whaling
Yeah,
last night.
inform me.
Because they're jizz whale. This is on
This
Wikipedia.
is dead serious. This is Star Wars.
Jizz is the music we know from Star Wars.
Right.
Like from the Mos Eisley Cantina. That's jizz. Now, when you're playing good jizz, one will say to you, hey man, you're jizz whaling. So when Figurin' Dan is going shop boop ba boop ba doo ba, he's jizz whaling.
Yeah,
All right?
Yeah.
sure is.
But then jizz whale is a type of jizz. It's like smooth jizz. We call smooth jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jizz whale. So don't confuse jizz whale.
So all jizz whale is jizz, but not all jizz
right.
is jizz whale.
right.
Okay.
Racky, are we right about this?
Yes.
We have a question. I hope it's about jizz.
Are we talking about jizz?
Join this meatball sandwich.
This little sandwich here.
What do you have to say about jizz whaling versus jizz?
Speak into my chest.
Because there's 2 different kinds of jizz whale.
Yes. Are we talking about our favorite jizz, or are we our? Sorry.
Get out of here.
Favorite-
We had a question.
I was always a fan of scatting over jizz
Oh,
myself.
jeez. Oh, my word.
If they
Oh, my God. MovieBob.
I think one of the anthology movies will just be like a Ray or a Walk the Line about a jizz whaler.
Losers with Figurin' Dan and the modal nose.
Go away.
if they do make a new Ewok movie, should Wilford Brimley be back?
Yes.
Always.
Wilford Brimley should be in every movie.
Yeah.
All the time.
Is he still with us, Mr. Brimley? Has he passed?
That's surprising.
Did the Beatles finally get him?
That hasn't stopped. Death hasn't stopped actors for a
I
period
can
of
make
years.
that.
Of course not. No.
Specifically Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's alive. He's 82, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, Mazel tov.
Yeah.
That's that Quaker oatmeal power, my friends.
No, he's irregular.
Another question.
Rogue One or Force Awakens?
I've kind of I wouldn't say soured, but I've kind of come off Force Awakens a little bit in the year since. Like I feel I'm like, sure, exclamation mark, like a 7 out of 10. But I don't know.
There's a big problem with Force Awakens when they get there and he's like, I was the janitor. Like, that's dumb. Right? Like, ugh. That whole bit is dumb. I don't know. I need to see Rogue One a few more times, but I think I'm more Force Awakens still. But I dig Rogue One.
What about you, Bob?
I prefer the one with the spunky, tomboyish brunette Britain girl.
Wait, but that's both.
Yes, I know.
All right, so other movies. So what else we want to talk about?
What else came out this year? It was a big year.
It was.
It was a big year for geek movies that weren't good.
Yes.
Well, Doctor Strange was pretty good.
Doctor Strange was fun.
Your review, you touched on how maybe what might fit the material better was a sort of slower, kind of trippier, more drugged out vibe, and sort of like conventional action movie thing they did.
Yeah, I would have. Well, I would have liked to watch the same movie they'd made. I just wish that there was more downtime. This is my problem with a lot of movies now, is that there is no downtime. Is because they're in 3D and they're made to just, even if they're 2.5 hours long, it's like, no, we're going. It's like, guys, you can chill for a little while. He's like, I'm kind of annoyed that there's no scene in Doctor Strange where he's just kind of like, sits and folds his hands and just gets like, it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna vibe out and visit the astral plane for a while. Everything is a race. And I'm thinking, like, I think Doctor Strange, sitting around the Sanctum Sanctorum with some incense going and just.
What if Harley Corinne directed that movie?
It would be a great movie. I think it would be. I mean, like, it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. I liked Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was tons of fun. But I would have liked to see alone just to live in that world a little more. The best part of that movie is when he's learning all the stuff in training, because that's the best part of a kung fu movie. It's the best part of any type of movie like that. I wanted to see a little more of that. Kind of like the first Captain America goes on for like an hour and a half before he gets his uniform and his new shield.
That's the best stuff in
and
the
it's
movie.
awesome.
Yeah. Another question.
MovieBob, what did you think of Arrival, which is still in the theaters?
Arrival's fine. Yeah, I thought
Only fine.
I thought it was just like, it's like, Arrival is one of these movies where it has like, I won't say what the twist is. It's got a twist to it. The issue is that the twist is less of a storyline twist, like, oh wow, that reveals everything about this situation, and more of a, hey, wasn't our editing really clever to convince you that something you were seeing that wasn't actually, and it's fine, but it's a Christopher Nolan twist, where it's a twist that doesn't matter thematically or say anything else about the movie, but man, he showed off his mastery of editing and timeline and making you think you were watching something you don't, which is fine. It's a good movie. Amy Adams is really good. She's in that and Nocturnal Animals. She's given really good performances in movies that are just okay. But I thought it was fine. It's cool. I like the aliens. I like it's a good science
I just like that
fiction
there
movie.
are still at least once a year a science fiction movie that's for everybody.
I like being in death process. We have another question.
What's the best part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
This part.
I really liked Civil War a lot, so maybe something from that. I'm trying to think of something more specific.
Are they for like a component part, like an
Like a
individual
scene?
movie,
I
or
mean, I think,
an
up to
actor?
interpretation.
The soundtrack to Guardians of the Galaxy is still something I listen to all the time.
That's really good. That's the soundtrack to my college graduation. Not to make anyone feel old.
Gosh.
I really like. This isn't really a scene or a moment, but I like about Civil War is that it's the closest movie that gets the closest to admitting that maybe Captain America's wrong sometimes, and I really like that because I'm not the biggest fan of old Steve Rogers.
Civil War's right at the Guardians might still be the best one for me.
Yeah.
I think it's the most different, so I almost don't want to say it because it's like, oh, that means the others are getting sick of them. No, but it's peppy, it's weird, it's different. It's got all that other wild stuff going on. And
James Gunn's great. I love that he makes Slither.
I like the
Slither.
idea that you can have this big, massive mega franchise going on, and every once in a while they can still go, it's like, you know what? You know that guy who just made an R-rated movie crapping all over our entire genre? Give him $200 million and tell him to make a space thing, whatever. This is what I want to see happen with the Marvel movies, though, is that they've got this amazing opportunity where whatever they make, they slap the Marvel name on the front of it, and it's going to make $1 billion no matter what. So you might as well make something weird and different every once in a while and see what happens.
Even their biggest financial misstep is still a great triumph for anyone else,
Like they could make a Squirrel Girl movie.
They better make a
should.
Squirrel Girl movie.
A character that no one cared about until like 3 years ago, and it's ironic. It's an ironic appreciation character who I love, but they could make $1 billion off
Some
that
people
now.
in this office might fight you. Some people are really into no irony needed. Yeah.
Squirrel Girl is delightful.
Yeah.
They've transcended irony. It's post-ironic. It was ironic, and now it's cool. It's what a time to be alive.
I think the next Thor is going to be amazing.
It better be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with what's his name directing it?
Taika Waititi.
There you go.
Yeah.
That guy, he's hilarious.
Delightful.
Another question.
What do you think about the CW DC universe?
So let's start with Nick.
Yeah, it is better than the DC movie universe. I was I was kind of skeptical going into Arrow when it premiered years ago because Smallville was not my favorite show. But Arrow kind of stuck with me, and then when the Flash brought out the Flash, and it was much more lighthearted and a lot more fun, and just Barry's just a guy I would rather spend an hour with than Oliver. I
also don't want to spend time with Oliver.
Yeah.
Build your Legos.
Yeah, it's great, and the crossovers so far have been pretty smart. They're not overdoing it, and it's still a nice surprise when a character just shows up for a scene, like when Felicity showed up in The Flash at the beginning of the season. That was just a nice surprise, and then it was done, and they moved on with the show.
I'm amazed, and I haven't seen all of it, but I like what I have seen. Even when it looks really cheap, it's still okay. And I don't know what the magic is, because when another show looks really cheap, and not all these actors are great thespians either, but they have their limits and they know exactly what to do, and maybe it's just got some of that whiz bang sort of like 50s pulp thing to it. But for some reason, even when it looks cheap and ridiculous, I'm like, I love this stuff.
I think that's especially gives Legends of Tomorrow. Like all their money has to go to going back in time because period sets are really expensive. So they don't get the best special effects of the 4 series.
Hawkgirl, it looks idiotic sometimes, but it
doesn't matter.
It's so
I hate to call up a discussion of good DC things because we're so bereft of them these days, but we're running out of time. Thank all of you for being here. Thank you so much, Bob.
Oh, thank you.
Jordan, you're going to stick around and talk more about Star Trek.
Yes.
We're going to say goodbye to Nick also.
All right, thank
you.
you.
Want more film criticism like this, go to Geek.com. Sign up for our newsletter.
Newsletter.
And stick around. We'll be talking Star Trek with this guy and that other meatball. That's my boss.